Scientists have made a shocking discovery in the Amazon rainforest. This discovery is surprising, seeing that we've lived on this planet for millions of years and somehow this little rock floating in space still manages to shock us. If you think about it, how much do we really know about our history, our planet, and our own existence? It turns out that we know very little, which, while frightening, is incredibly inspiring for researchers eager to find answers to our most pressing questions. For instance, did you have any idea that the Amazon was home to the last unexplored caves on the planet, or that tunnels within it extended as far as 22 kilometers? Did you hear about growing evidence that proved the rainforest was home to millions before the Europeans arrived to study it? Stick around as we give you a rundown of what scientists just discovered in the Amazon rainforest that shocked the entire world. Let's start with the Tepuis of Venezuela, also known as the Tabletop Mountains. Located in South America, these mountains are a treasure trove of discoveries. The massive flat mountain ranges rise from the middle of the Amazon basin. The name Tepui means House of the Gods in the Pemons native language. Pemons were the indigenous group who inhabited Gran Sabana. Scientists are finally investigating this mysterious and monolithic mountains, revealing a hidden world beneath their crust. We've been led to this discovery largely due to the efforts of speleologist Francesco Sauro of the University of Bologna in Italy. Sauro has led numerous expeditions to the Tabletop Mountain region to learn more about these magnificent ancient peaks. Sauro and his team took on the task and completed a 40-day expedition to previously unexplored caves within the Tepuis in January 2022. Not only are these tepui difficult to reach on their own, but the caves within them may be some of the last unexplored caves on the planet. It's way too easy to lose your way, but with a reliable team, Sauro managed to explore a huge part. The team concentrated on the Venezuelan Tepui, where the cave system turned out to have at least 22 kilometers of tunnels beneath the surface and is the largest known example of its kind. And if all of this isn't enough, the cave systems themselves will take your breath away because their presence is reminiscent of an alien world. Curious about what the Tepui caves look like? Let's find out. The Tepui caves are a sight to behold. Their walls are typically light pink in color, while the water that runs through them is red due to the organic acids present in the cave streams. According to Sauro, who's seen the caves firsthand, they are truly a sight to behold. Scientists are still baffled as to how the speleothems, also known as stalactites and stalagmites, came to have such strange billowing shapes. Many of these unusual formations can only be found in quartzite caves where microorganisms influence their shape. Not to mention, because these tepui are insulated from the outside world, they have effectively created an isolated organic petri dish for scientists to study. If you're wondering whether Sauro discovered any dinosaurs down there, the answer is a loud and resounding no. No dinosaurs under the Tepui, but he did succeed in identifying mineral formations that were completely new to science. Formations of aluminium sulfate called rosiantonite, name straight out of a fairy tale. But where did they come from? Turns out some colonies of bacteria can extract energy from sulfates in the air, mix it up with aluminium in the cave, and voila, we have ourselves some cool-looking rosiantonites. But these colonies of bacteria who can DIY some stalagmites aren't the only fascinating life forms in this place. The Tepui cave is brimming with opportunities to research life on Earth. Any organism found in these ecosystems, spiders, insects, and even a wild cat skeleton dating back 5,500 years has evolved entirely without outside influence. These caves are thought to be extremely old, possibly dating back tens of millions of years, and it is because of all these unknowns that Sauro and his team have already begun to plan future expeditions to learn more. But this isn't the only secret world inside the Amazon rainforest. Scientists have discovered that mysterious mounds in the southwest corner of the Amazon basin were once the site of ancient urban settlements. Beginning somewhere around 1,500 years ago, ancient Amazonians built and lived in densely populated centers surrounded by kilometers of elevated roadways. The complexity of these settlements is mind-boggling, according to team member Heiko Prumers, an archaeologist with the German Archaeological Institute in Berlin. Jonas Gregorio de Souza, an archaeologist at Barcelona's Pompeu Fabra University, also added that this was the first clear evidence of urban societies in this part of the Amazon basin. The study adds to a growing body of evidence that the Amazon, long thought to be a pristine wilderness before Europeans arrived, was home to advanced societies long before that. Humans have lived in the Amazon basin for around 10,000 years, where a vast river drainage system roughly the size of the continental United States also exists. Prior to the arrival of Europeans in the 16th century, researchers believed that all Amazonians lived in small nomadic tribes with little impact on the world around them. And while early European visitors described a landscape densely packed with towns and villages, later explorers were unable to pinpoint these locations. Archaeologists had yet to confirm the rumors by the 20th century and argued that the Amazon's nutrient-poor soil couldn't support large-scale agriculture and that it would have prevented tropical civilizations similar to those found in Central America and Southeast Asia from arising in the Amazon. But by the 2000s, archaeological opinion was beginning to shift. Some researchers theorized that because of the presence of several domesticated plants in the area, as well as areas of nutrient-rich soil, humans had once lived in those places. To put it plainly, they'd shaped the very environment of the Amazon. The theory gained even further support after archaeologists reported hundreds of large geometric mounds discovered due to deforestation in the southern Amazon rainforest in 2018. These structures suggested ancient organized societies capable of thriving in one location for years had no doubt existed there. But there was no direct evidence of settlements. However, Prumas began researching a group of mounds in the Bolivian Amazon basin outside of the dense rainforest in 1999. Previous excavations had revealed that these forest islands had human habitation, including the mysterious Kasarabe culture, which appeared around 500 AD. During one excavation, Prumas and his colleagues discovered what appeared to be a wall, indicating that the area had once been occupied by a permanent settlement. The researchers also discovered graves, platforms, and other evidence of a complex society. However, the dense vegetation made it difficult for them to survey the site using traditional methods. By the 2010s, archaeologists were enamored with a LiDAR, a remote sensing technology that uses lasers to generate a 3D image of the ground below. A LiDAR survey of a Honduran valley in 2012 aided in the rediscovery of an ancient pre-Columbian city thought to have existed in the area. The jungle had completely overtaken the settlement since it was abandoned in the 15th century, making aerial viewing nearly impossible without LiDAR. In 2019, Prumas and his colleagues decided to use LiDAR and fly a helicopter equipped with the technology over 6 areas near sites that were confirmed to be occupied by the Kasarabe people. The team got more than they bargained for, with LiDAR revealing the size and shape of 26 settlements, including 11 that researchers weren't looking for. A massive task that would have taken 400 years to survey using traditional methods, according to Prumas. 2 of the urban areas were larger than 100 hectares, 3 times the size of the Vatican City. The LiDAR images revealed walled compounds with broad terraces rising 6 meters above ground level. Earthen pyramids towered above one end of the terraces. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, people most likely lived in the areas surrounding the terraces and traveled along the causeways that linked the sites. Prumas explained that for some reason, the world had this mental image of Amazonia as a green desert, but there was no proof of that, so why shouldn't something like that exist in the forest? But while we have answers to some questions, many remain unanswered. It is still unknown why these settlements were abandoned after 900 years. The Kasarabe vanished around 1400 according to radiocarbon dating. According to Pruma's LiDAR images revealed reservoirs in the settlements, possibly indicating that this part of the world wasn't always wet, which indicated an environmental shift that may have driven people away. Consistent pollen records, on the other hand, show that maize, also known as corn, had grown in the area for thousands of years, which further indicated sustainable agricultural practices. The discovery of long-lost Amazonian societies changed the general perspective people have of Amazonian archaeology, according to Eduardo Neves, an archaeologist at Brazil's University of São Paulo. He believes that current logging and farming in the Amazon basin are almost certainly destroying important archaeological sites that have yet to be discovered, but that growing interest in Amazonian archaeology may lead to the protection of vulnerable areas. These findings also refute the popular belief that indigenous peoples were passive inhabitants of the Amazon basin prior to the arrival of Europeans. The people who lived there forever changed the landscape. Of course, their contributions should be preserved in our history. And if you thought this discovery was surprising, well, you're in for a treat. Archaeologists found a vast network of Amazon villages laid out like the cosmos. Billions of lasers shot from a helicopter flying over the Brazilian Amazon rainforest have detected a vast network of long-abandoned, circular and rectangular-shaped villages dating from 1300 to 1700, according to another new study. The round villages all had remarkably similar layouts, with elongated mounds circling a central plaza like marks on a clock. The researchers explained that when seen from above, these latter elongated mounds looked like the rays of the sun, which gave them the common name of sóis, the Portuguese word for suns. The Amazon finally gave up its secrets after many years of study and confirmed that civilizations in the millions once thrived in the area. And while that may be a surprise, there's one thing we've always known about the rainforest, which is that it's home to millions of species apart from humans. So of course, they stumbled across a fossil that helped gap 15 million years of missing data. The remains of the smallest fossil monkey ever discovered have been discovered by a team of Peruvian and American scientists. A fossilized tooth discovered in Peru's Amazon jungle has been identified as belonging to a new species of hamster-sized monkey. According to a team led by Duke University and the National University of Piura in Peru, this specimen is significant because it bridges a 15 million year gap in the fossil record for New World monkeys. The new fossil was discovered in southeastern Peru on an exposed riverbank along the Rio Alto Madre de Dios. Researchers excavated sandstone and gravel chunks, placed them in bags, and hauled them away to be soaked in water and strained through sieves to extract the fossilized teeth, jaws, and bone fragments buried within. And sure, it was hard work. The team combed through 2,000 pounds of sediment containing hundreds of rodents, bats, and other animal fossils before discovering the lone monkey tooth, but their patience paid off big time. The first author, Richard Kay, a Duke University professor of evolutionary anthropology who had been conducting paleontological research in South America for nearly 4 decades, stated that primate fossils are not easy to come across. The specimen, a single upper molar, was double the size of the head of a pin and could fall through a window screen. If you're wondering why a tooth could have caused such excitement, it's because monkey teeth, particularly molars, can reveal a lot to paleontologists. Based on the relative size and shape of the tooth, the researchers believe the animal ate energy-rich fruits and insects and weighed less than half a pound, only slightly heavier than a baseball. That's tiny compared to some of South America's large monkeys such as howlers and muriquis, which can weigh up to 50 pounds. Kay explained that it was by far the smallest fossil monkey ever discovered anywhere on the planet. Only one living monkey species, the teacup-sized pygmy marmoset, was smaller but only barely. The team named the animal Parvomiko matadai, or tiny monkey from Mother of God River, in a paper published in the Journal of Human Evolution. The discovery, which is now housed in the permanent collections of Peru's National University of Piura's Institute of Paleontology, is significant because it's one of the few clues scientists have from a key missing chapter in monkey evolution. Monkeys are thought to have arrived in South America from Africa 40 million years ago, rapidly diversifying into the 150-plus New World species we know today, the majority of which live in the Amazon rainforest. But how that process played out is a bit of a mystery, thanks in part to a gap in the monkey fossil record between 13 and 31 million years ago, with only a few fragments that just haven't been enough. Parvomiko lived in that void. The new fossil dates back 17 to 19 million years, putting it smack dab in the period when researchers would have expected diversification in the New World monkeys. The Parvomiko may have been new to researchers, so of course its discovery was exciting, but the Amazon is also giving us new details about animals we know exist today. For instance, electric eels were seen to have hunted in packs in the Amazon rivers. When darkness comes, electric eels emerge from South American river bottoms to attack their prey with up to 860 volts of electricity, enough to kill a person. Now scientists have revealed that the snake-like fish don't always go it alone. They hunt in packs similar to wolves, orcas, or some species of tuna. The finding a first among electric fishes may open the way for new studies to investigate when social predation evolved among fishes. Douglas Bastos, a biologist at the National Institute of Amazonian Research who first saw a group attack in 2012, was shocked. Usually the eels, which can grow as long as a broomstick and weigh up to 20 kilograms, prey alone at night, targeting single resting fishes, he notes. This behavior is unusual not only for freshwater fish, but also for electrical eels. Bastos witnessed the attack on an expedition looking for endangered fish in northern Brazil. 2 years later, he went back for a closer look. Camping alone in the middle of the Amazon, a 5-day journey by boat from the nearest city of Altamira, he filmed hundreds of electric eels in groups of 10 reportedly attacking small tetra fishes on the Iriri River, a tributary of the Ingu River, which is a tributary of the Amazon River in northern Brazil. The eels were Electrophorus volti, which deliver the strongest shock ever measured in a living animal. So far, the group attacks have only been recorded in the low water season, which runs from June to November. During these months, which see a significant reduction in rainfall, fish in the region's rivers are squeezed into far less water than normal, making them easy pickings for the eel packs. The eels simply have to find a pool full of fish and ambush them. In the high water season, prey would likely have a much better chance of keeping a safe distance and getting away, says co-author Carlos David de Santana, a co-author and biologist of the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of Natural History. The researchers don't know how this behavior evolved, how widespread it is, and whether it happens only during the low water season. But Santana has some thoughts on how the eels might pick out their groups. Based on a straightforward individual-level principle, continue hunting with the same people when successful and a stable group eventually forms, this social predation may have developed. Most of the time, the eels rested at the bottom of the river, but at dawn and dusk, they moved to a shallow pool at the riverbank where they herded shoals of fish and launched joint attacks, immobilizing and devouring their prey. Each hunt usually took 2 hours and involved up to 7 attacks, the researchers report today in Ecology and Evolution. William Crampton, a biologist at the University of Central Florida who was not part of the work, was just as fascinated by this new evidence. He has been studying electric fishes for 25 years and says the findings could spur further research into how the eels use electric discharges to navigate and communicate. Bastos and his colleagues next plan to sequence the genomes of the eels in hopes of identifying genes linked to social predation shared by other animals that display this behavior, including mammals like whales. This could give them clues to better understand the history of this trait's evolution among a wide variety of animals. Crampton suspects other species of electric eels may utilize the same hunting strategy. On a recent trip to Guyana, he says that he heard reports from indigenous peoples about shoals of fish jumping out of the water near large groups of electric eels of another species, E. electricus. Although he has never personally observed this behavior, if the reports are accurate, it is possible that it's not unique to E. volti. In any event, the researchers will have to act fast because human destruction of the Amazon is wiping out these habitats, Santana says. The sad reality is that it's probable that these areas won't be preserved for another 5 or 10 years. And the reason for that is climate change, which always makes us gulp a few times. When we talk about the Amazon rainforest, the news is never good. Through 2019 and 2020, the news has been dominated by images of forests ablaze and a land racked by climate change and illegal logging. But while researchers may feel hopeless, there's still a lot that scientists don't yet understand. A new study published in Science Advances is a case in point. In it, scientists revealed some puzzling ecological traits in the wettest regions of the Amazon, which suggested the rainforest may be tougher than we think. Hold on, there's science coming into play. Scientists looked at the relationship between increasing air dryness, also known as vapor pressure deficit, and gross primary production in the Amazon. Gross primary production refers to the total amount of carbon that plants in forests fix or uptake during photosynthesis. The The scientists used observational data from 9 years between June 2007 and May 2016 and input the data into a machine learning tool known as an artificial neural network. These networks helped the researchers understand and compare their results with existing models and simulations of how dry air changes the Amazon's ability to act as a carbon sink. Okay, is this getting too hard to follow? Maybe lead author Julia K. Green can help out. She offered her insight on the study at the Laboratory of Sciences of Climate and the Environment in France and explained it to inverse. She essentially wanted to devise a method with which she could use different environmental predictors and input those into a model to predict photosynthesis. But putting these theories to the test is the real deal. Armed with their model, Green and her colleagues then compared typical predictions of land surface simulations to learn what's going on in the Amazon. Green said that the models would help make climate change predictions too. Of course, a rainforest of that magnitude and accurate model is needed. The wetter parts of the Amazon boast trees with deep root systems, but the models show that vegetation in these areas can become stressed due to water deficit caused by increasingly dry air or soil, and Green emphasized that this water deficit can severely impact photosynthesis. Let's revise a little grade school biology here now. Plants have these little pores on their leaves called stomata. It's via these pores that carbon dioxide enters into the plant. But as the plant takes some carbon dioxide, it loses water through the leaf's surface because the air is drier. As a result, the drier the air, the more closed the stomata are going to become to conserve water, she explained. The researchers assumed, and so did their models, that the closing of the stomata from air dryness would reduce photosynthesis. What they observed was that the photosynthesis in these rainforest places was declining in the model simulations when there was just a little bit of dryness. They weren't certain if that appeared to be practical or not. That's where the artificial neural networks came in. Green used their findings to come to a surprising conclusion. The simulation models were wrong. They discovered that photosynthesis increased in these moist parts of the forest as the vapor pressure deficit raised. The reason why is to do with the nature of the Amazon forest itself. The Amazon has a very dynamic forest canopy, Green stressed, which compensated for the closing of the stomata and counterintuitively increased photosynthesis. It's almost a wonder to behold how something as seemingly simple as photosynthesis could also be adaptable. There is a lot of natural resilience that baffled even the most skilled researchers. Green continued that what ultimately happened was that the forest ended up dropping a lot of these old leaves at the top of the canopy when the air started to dry. Eventually, new, younger leaves took their place, and compared to the leaves they were replacing, these new, younger leaves were able to increase their photosynthetic activity and easily adapt to the drier air. The Amazon serves as one of the world's most important carbon sinks, and that carbon sink relies on photosynthesis to survive. But these results suggested the Amazon had natural resilience during periods of drier air. Although whether the findings suggest the Amazon holds up better against extreme weather events like drought brought on by climate change is unclear, according to Green. And yet it's not just the plants that are unique in their adaptation. There are shocking discoveries hidden everywhere. The fact of the matter is that the Amazon is way too large and way too dense for humans to study all of it instantaneously. And with climate change causing harm to the environment, many mysteries of the Amazon may disappear before we can get to it. Unless the world takes a stance and does its best to protect the Earth, we may remain ignorant of all the treasures that lie beneath the canopy visible to us.